The Walt Disney Company put out a press release for investors gloating about the Fantastic Four. There's just one problem. The Pedro Pascal film didn't actually make what Disney said it did. The numbers, the predictions, the projections are dropping. And today we've got the receipts to show you things are not the way that Disney is claiming. All right, the question is, did Disney mislead investors when it comes to the Fantastic Four and the box office? We are on the WaltDisneyCompany.com website. This is an official press release, and at the top you can see about, investor relations, careers, impact news. This is not the entertainment side of Disney. This is the business side, and this is a press release they put out for investors. Came out July 27th on the Sunday late. The Fantastic Four First Steps tops box office as Disney hit $3 billion in ticket sales. Now, my belief about this is they put this out there to control the narrative. And they did so because maybe they knew things were not going to go their way, and they need to get investors to believe that Fantastic Four is a major hit. Now, we can have subjective opinions about that, but when the objective facts don't match, that's when we've got a problem. Marvel's first family has blasted off in fantastic fashion with $218 million in its opening weekend at the box office. Don't forget that number. Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four First Steps, which is the iconic superheroes team's introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, followed the Walt Disney Company's 2019 acquisition of 21st Century Fox, grossed $118 million at the domestic box office this weekend, with an additional $100 million on the international side. Remember both of those numbers, folks, because guess what? That's untrue. For you see, as much as those numbers have nice rings to them, that is not the numbers that we believe that Fantastic Four made. And by the way, we are recording this, of course, on a Monday Eve, and by midday Tuesday, we think these numbers may be revised lower. It's already happening. Fantastic Four has been downgraded from the prior reports. The domestic box office now stands at 117.6. So it did not make 118. And far worse, the international box office has been dropped by about $1 million, only at 99 million, which is a PR faux pas for Disney. They would like to have the big pop of the 100. That means that the worldwide box office is about 2 million less than what they are saying to investors. It's at 216, ever more creeping below Superman. And again, folks, we believe that these estimates are based on a Sunday that probably isn't going to go Disney's way. And one might wonder, were these estimates overly generous in order to have a narrative that was more favorable to Disney? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. Disney needs to get it right when they report on this sort of thing. Now, it is true that Disney passed the $3 billion at the box office in 2025. Yep, absolutely they did. And good for them. They go on in this press release to investors to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score. Should have used Criticless. And the verified audience score. They talk about the cinema score. They talk about the positive reviews. They give a Kevin Feige quote, but it's all based on bad data. And I know it's not terribly, awfully far off, but you can imagine what telling them it made 100 million internationally does versus it didn't make 100 million. And every million you drop below Superman is a big, big deal. Now, we're going to go to Forbes in just a minute with Mark Hughes. He's got the truth here, which is that Fantastic Four is underwhelming at the box office. You might like the movie. You may think it's good. However, for whatever reason, whether it's Pedro Pascal and his crazy, nutty PR disasters that he does every single week, whatever you think the impetus might be, Fantastic Four is not doing well at the box office. It is dropping, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I want to go to the panel and just say, guys, what do you think about the idea that Disney put this out on a Sunday, and by Monday, those numbers were no longer true?
Yeah, so you have your reported box office totals, and then your actuals come in. Well, frankly, what we've been seeing from a lot of these comic book movies is that the actuals actually end up being lower than what was reported, at least on Sunday, when they total them up finally on Monday morning right there. So not surprising that they would go with the reported figures. We've seen them evangelize about those figures multiple times, but I'm kind of surprised that they would actually provide investors, hey, look, 218 million. It's like, not quite so much. And as Pro pointed out, when you have Superman outperforming that, Superman, its first weekend was what? Is it 222? Is that right? Globally? Something around that area? Well, it's the most successful comic book movie.
Superman was 222 globally. Like the whole thing, 222. And I guess I would show you this too, Vash. It would be easy for us to say, well, it's just off by a little. But this is driving everything right now. These numbers, like Nancy Tartaglione out of Deadline is still using them. And it's frustrating to me that this seems to only happen to Disney. Like Superman got revised upwards. Superman got hit with these negative headlines, and then they had to revise it up the next day or two and be like, well, it made more than what we thought it did. But you get like 2 articles on that versus 50 articles with the worst number. And it seems to always go the opposite way for Disney. And I think it's gross at this point.
And we've seen this too. We've seen them play around with this stuff where it's like, oh, number 1 at the box office for this film. Or I know Mufasa had a lot of that associated with it. And it's like, well, was it quite number 1? And all of that. They're constantly trying to make themselves look better. But, it's kind of interesting in this regard because in terms of comic book movies go for this year, Superman is still the number 1 best performing comic book movie this year. And like you said right there, any amount that it didn't quite get up to that level is a big deal. So 216 versus 218 versus 222, it all kind of it all makes a difference, especially in Hollywood and when it comes to that big box office number right there.
Absolutely. And again, just want to say this one more time for everybody out there. This is likely because they're revising the Saturday numbers. We won't get the final tally on the Sunday numbers until midday or the afternoon on Tuesday. And by that time, everybody's moved on. So what if this film goes from being a 118 to a 114, a 113, something like that by the time we get in? Because Sunday may have been brutally bad based on that Saturday drop-off. Wizard, what do you think about this?
It's definitely concerning. I mean, it's Disney has to get in front of this. Otherwise, every Marvel film will have, or in theory has, underperformed below their expectations and below the ability to break even. Captain America: Brave New World didn't do well. Thunderbolts didn't do well. And Fantastic Four is supposed to be the creme de la creme of Marvel this year. It's not a good look. I'm not surprised they issued this statement too early. They kind of do things like that are a little shady, but like within that area of that gray area where, well, we might be able to get away with it if we could explain it away. And that's really all they're trying to do, is to just explain away the fact that people aren't coming out to these films. And that's a terrifying thing if you're Disney, because they're banking so much money on the upcoming Avengers Doomsday. I know we've talked about it on the show. Everybody else is talking about it. I don't understand. And I've seen the film and I saw the after credits. I don't understand how they're going to bridge this into Doomsday. There's not enough hype there. There's not enough of a setup like there was with all the previous Avengers films. And I think they're concerned, as they should be. This is a messy place for Disney to be.
Absolutely. And the reason that you want to go, I think, on the Sunday, you got to remember, Disney doesn't release a press release for many of these films. I don't recall a press release for Thunderbolts. There's a reason that they need to shape the narrative here. And that is, no matter what, this is the lead in to Avengers Doomsday. And this movie, they have come heck or high water, folks, we'll keep it a little clean. They're going to do everything they can to make sure that you believe, that the normies believe this was a winner. Doesn't matter if it performs similarly to Thunderbolts. Doesn't matter if it performs similarly to Ant-Man Quantumania. It cannot be a loser because they cannot afford the next 12 months to be negative press about Marvel having 3 straight flops going into Avengers Doomsday. All right, let me go now to what's that?
It won't be. Okay.
It won't be. X-Wing, explainify.
Okay. As if this... why do you always got to put me up on the screen?
The darn stash. The darn stash. I blame it on Vash. He probably put you up there.
as if this is anything different than we've seen from Disney from every other project that they always put out. I come from the Star Wars fandom. Trust me, every single show they put out is the #1 show that's ever been on Disney Plus constantly. Solomon Grundy, Light on a Sunday. This is just
the best thing since Empire Struck Back, right? X-Wing every single time.
But guess what's going to happen in December? Avatar is going to come out, and it's going to level out their little portfolio, and Marvel, nobody's going to be worried about it because Avatar is going to make God knows how many billions of dollars, and they're going to be a big win, and Disney's doing great.
Now, are you an Avatar guy, X-Wing? Do you put on the 3D glasses, and do you go to Pandora every 2 years?
Shamelessly in love with Avatar. Yes, I adore it. I absolutely love it, and I wish they would make 2 movies a year, and I would go to every single one of them. Yes.
He's a Na'vi man, folks. He's a Na'vi man.
Yeah,
all right, well, let's take a look. Avatar. Let's take a look right now at what Forbes is saying, and then let's talk about what these movies need to break even. Fantastic Four underwhelmed. Superman soars higher at box office by Mark Hughes. Marvel Studios summer tentpole, The Fantastic Four First Steps, underwhelmed this weekend with just $118 million domestic and $100 million internationally. Still going with the wrong numbers, but you know that's that. It's tricky trying to stay up with all this, so we don't hold it against Mark Hughes. But even then, it is falling behind what it needs. It says, meanwhile, DC Studios' Superman soars higher at the box office, past $500 million, after previously opening higher than Fantastic Four. It says, in a surprise turnabout, it was Superman eating into the Fantastic Four first step weekend gross, rather than Marvel's summer tentpole acting as a speed bump. Superman went from a trajectory of $550 million to suddenly staring confidently at $600 million or more. In other words, that drop off on the Saturday that they really don't want to talk about, and maybe even more on the Sunday, went in favor of Superman. Superman actually increased where they believe it will be now, even as Fantastic Four was supposed to come in there and really wipe it out. The Marvel's first family is meant to set up the 2-part Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War payoff. We've talked about, we think they're going to announce a trilogy next year. They might actually get scared out of doing that now. They might be worried enough that they don't do that. We'll see. As well as setting the foundations for a soft reboot of the MCU with the X-Men. It says, First Steps did come in more than 10% ahead of Superman internationally, and the MCU tends to enjoy good overseas holds. However, overall lower opening weekend global sales combined with the fact Superman is holding far better than expected means we have to wait to see whether First Steps can match the Man of Steel's stamina. Now, we will know Wednesday what this film is going to do because we'll get the Tuesday cheapo ticket sales, and we'll find out, like, did they pick up anything there? If we see a crash on Tuesday again, second weekend is going to be brutal. Guys, here's where I'm getting at on this. Disney and their narrative building may be doing everything they can to try to make sure they maintain momentum, because this movie has a reported, Vash, it's $200 million production budget or $250?
200 for Fantastic Four.
Okay, $200 million, which that feels low to me, and it's the budget, not the actual spend. But 200, we'll leave it there, okay? They almost certainly marketed this at 150. I mean, they spent a lot on this one. Probably spent more, but we'll be conservative and say 150. That puts this at 350, and they have to make back double what they spend to break even because Uncle Sam and other countries take the taxes, and theaters get a cut as well. So it's about double they have to make. So 350 times 2, $700 million is the break even for Fantastic Four. Right now, Fantastic Four does not look like it's going to make $700 million. Meanwhile, Superman is looking more and more like it may. And we've said in the past, 700 is a big number for Superman. It's still a big ask, but it might happen. Guys, which one now has the better shot at 700?
Oh, Superman definitely has the better shot. You know, it's interesting. I was looking at this this tweet from someone we know, and it's about all the cumulative Disney box office so far this year, and I found it to be very interesting. It says the Walt Disney Studios has crossed the $3 billion at the worldwide box office for the 4th consecutive year, following the strong opening of the Fantastic Four First Steps globally, and that was, of course, based on the numbers that you were sharing that were the higher numbers. But hasn't Disney put out like 6, 7, 8 films this year? I mean, these are not the numbers that are good for Disney when I believe Endgame, didn't that have like $2.5 billion on its own, like one single movie? And you look at the fall over 6 years from that to an accumulating, I mean, these are a number of flops adding up to $1 billion when you look at the spend And when you look at what Disney gets back, they're not profiting. It's not good for investors, and it's pretty obvious why Disney wants to tout a bigger number when they get a chance, and hopefully they won't. You'll hear the bigger number and you'll just ignore the smaller number when it actually happens.
Well, here's the deal, Ron. Real quick, Wizard. The problem with Disney and the $3 billion is that many of those movies that have helped them get to $3 billion, they actually spent way more than they brought in. So, like Snow White is a huge flop. It added 100, 200 million, whatever it did, but they lost money on it. And same thing with Captain America: Brave New World. Same thing with Thunderbolts. We can keep going. Wizard, your thoughts?
Yeah, really quick, because Ron makes really good points there. But like, what I don't understand is normal folks understand that Disney is not in a good place right now with the box office. So what I can't comprehend is how investors aren't looking at this and realizing how much trouble Disney is truly in. Normal folks are done. They just don't get, the apathy is there. And for Fantastic Four, which is in theory a massive comic book name, and the amount of energy riding on this, and audiences just aren't turning out anymore like they used to. I don't see how investors can keep taking this company seriously. It's fascinating to me, like the way that this company is just surviving all of it. I don't know why.
Absolutely. Lauren, the way I'm looking at this right now, Superman is going to be somewhere around 650 to 700, I think is where this winds up. And a large part of that's going to depend on how long they leave it in there and whether or not they can get it back onto some of the premium formats once we get into the dead season of the cinemas. Fantastic Four, on the other hand, I'm thinking this might perform sort of like Quantumania. I think it could have a really big drop off in the second weekend. If that happens, this is going to be a huge disappointment for Disney. Do you foresee that being the case? And does it maybe make them rethink Pedro Pascal as their lead man? He's the lead in Star Wars and Marvel.
Well, I haven't seen anything make Disney reconsider their positions in quite a while. I don't know what kind of level disaster it's going to take for that to happen. What I would say, not having seen Fantastic Four, is that I don't think the audience, the normie audience, really pays any attention to the box office. I don't think they care. What I think they do care about is that they have gotten a lot of lackluster movies that are Marvel. And Superman is a fresh start. They're willing to give that a chance where maybe they're not willing to give Marvel a chance anymore. And Superman has already announced that they're going to have their streaming release, I think, on August 26th. So they've already kind of broadcast what their runway is. So I'm curious to see how the next couple of weeks go.
I want to show people this as we get ready to wrap up this topic, and that is, let's go back to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, of course, this is not the lead into the Avengers. So Fantastic Four is. The drop-off, though, day to day is what I think has Disney really worried and why they might be putting out press releases trying to calm fears. Ant-Man Quantumania, I believe, had less of a drop from the Friday to Saturday than Fantastic Four. And Ant-Man Quantumania dropped 70% in the second weekend. So what Disney is worried about, and folks, you can track this, okay? Like, we're not going to be Nostradamus here, but we're just going to tell you this is how it's going to play out. If Fantastic Four drops by about 64% or above, Disney's in deep doo-doo. Superman dropped by, I believe, 55%. So they need to hold somewhere around there to stay competitive. And if they're not competitive, James Gunn does not have to release a $750 million movie production next year. That's Marvel. They have to do that. And then they're on the hook to do it again. So both of those movies are going to need $1.5 billion. Now, if your lead into that is tracking with Quantumania, then there is the potential, not a definite yet, but the potential that you're about to lose and get hosed for $2 billion as you sunset the current MCU. That is not the way Disney, Iger, Feige, any of them want to go out. That is not the curtain call that they had envisioned. That is not why RDJ returned, to lose $2 billion and to be laughed out of the cinemas. Panel, take it away. Your thoughts, and do you think there's any way this becomes Quantumania, or is that just a little too crazy?
Well, Quantumania was really bad because that releases in February of 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
And it was a worse film.
It's a worse film. Well, it was like no competition at all. And so to have that drop off even without competition was like really, really like, whoa, that's pretty crazy right there. Versus this, I think there is a little bit more competition at the box office right now, which might explain somewhat that. But again, though, for this not to do better than Superman, I think was maybe a big surprise to Marvel and the team right there. It looks like Superman, looking at Luis Fernando's page, he's saying that $600 million locked for this film, eyeing a $640 to $700 million global run at the box office. That was a $225 reported budget on that film.
Who's reporting that it's locked in at 600 and it's going to be 640 to 700?
Luis Fernando on Twitter,
And
which we did cite in our Fantastic Four article.
When did he put that out there? When did he update it?
He put that out there today at about noon my time. That would have been 3
Okay, so that's after he saw The Weekend. Okay, that's what I wanted to know is, did he have that predicted before, or was that... So, folks, again, Fantastic Four comes out as supposed to diminish Superman. Instead, Superman picks up steam in its box office projections.
Yeah.
If it hits 700, this is the big number. It's always been the big number. I've said this now for 6 months. Superman, for it to be a real success, it's got to get to 700. It's now within the realm of possibility. We didn't think so on that first weekend release.
Those international holds look actually pretty good, and I think the Latin American market's definitely showing up for Superman, and I think the Latin American market actually might show up bigger for Superman than Fantastic Four, and that's why I'm pretty confident that Superman's gonna be able to achieve that in a timely fashion. It just kind of depends on what the legs for Fantastic Four actually look like. If that drop off from the Friday to Saturday continues, and we get into a quantum mania situation where they're going to be looking real bad. And again, you've got F1 that's still in the theaters right now. You have Superman. You have this other competition out there. It's going to secure those PLFs, obviously, for those 2 weeks. But it really has to start turning around here. That drop off, I would say, from week to week can't be more than, I'd say probably 55, 60%. If it's lower than that, then we're in big trouble.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts, guys, on this one? And you want to get on the prediction?
Out, dude. I'm going odd man out, and I'm saying it's going to pick up. I'm going to say,
you think Fantastic Four is going to pick up and gain momentum?
So if I'm wrong, feel free. You can get the ortho sprayer and hose me down with manitizer live on stream. It's totally fine.
It will be crow scented X-Wing. Crow scented.
Yes, crow scented. But I think as Superman drops off, Fantastic Four is going to pick up, and I think it'll have some legs, especially as more of these kind of trusted people go out and see it and they say, this isn't as bad as some of the other stuff that we've seen. I think it gets some people into theaters. I don't know how much that is, but I don't think the drop off is going to be as bad as we're thinking.
Well, now the counterposition to that is you've been buying up hundreds of tickets to send orphans to go see The Naked Gun. So I got my
Fantastic Four coin. So now I am indebted to Marvel forever to actually, who
was the best member of the Fantastic Four in the movie X-Wing? Who'd you like the best?
So, it's really funny. I heard a lot of crap talking about Johnny Storm and how this guy was not the right guy to play Johnny. I thought he did a great job, but Grimm has always been my favorite dude, and I've got a soft spot for that guy after watching The Bear. He's very similar to his character in The Bear. He's a cook. I think he just does a good job. And beyond that, as much as I don't like the guy and I get compared to him every single week, 7 to 8 times a week, I think Pedro does an admirable job of portraying Reed in this. So
I thought the direction for Reed was not the way to go, but I thought that Pedro did well with what he was given. I don't like Reed Richards to be sort of this anxiety-ridden,
he's a bit of a kind of guy. He's a bit of a Pedro, like a social anxiety Pedro. I would agree.
Yep. Wizard, you've been trying to get in, and I've cut you off on accident over and over again. Sir, get in here. Your thoughts?
No, I agree with X-Wing, but only if because the word of mouth for Superman has been incredible for the most part. I mean, even if you go on Instagram right now and you post a story, at the top is going to be punk rocker. Like, they are astroturfing some of these things that are associated with Superman to really push it out, and it's working. It has worked pretty well so far. I don't know if Fantastic Four has that, but that's what they're going to need. Really strong word of mouth to give this movie legs, because the regular superhero fans just didn't come out opening weekend like they normally do. But I'm curious to see. I think X-Wing might be right on this. It could pick up steam because it's so different from other MCU films.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch for sure. Ron, I'd like to get your thoughts before we end this and wind this down. We've got a debate now. I think that Fantastic Four is going to come up short. Our other esteemed panelists are saying, no. It's gonna pick up in that second weekend. People are going to hear that it's not like other Marvel movies. What do you think, sir?
I think that Superman and Fantastic Four are going to eventually leg out kind of neck and neck by the end of their runs. I think that it'll be close. And I'm basing it actually upon Jurassic World Rebirth, because that it hit over 700 million, and it's surprising because it's not a particularly good movie. And I've said this before, we've got 3 blockbuster films right in a row this summer with Jurassic and Superman and Fantastic Four, that all 3 of them should be they should be better movies. And if it were 2019, I think they'd each hit $1 billion. And I think we're in very different times now. The thing I do like about Fantastic Four, if word of mouth gets out about it, is it has a pretty strong message about family and the importance of family togetherness. As silly as it may be, the speech that Sue Storm turns everybody around with, saying, "Hey, as a planet, we're all family." I mean, it sounds goofy, but it gives you the feels, and I think that it could leg out fairly well. It's definitely not going to hit $1 billion, and it's definitely not what Disney is going to need to lead in to Avengers Doomsday. And I think that it would have been a lot better. I think it could have been a lot better without Pedro in the lead. Honestly, I think that he is, in fact, hurting this project. No matter how good he is in it, he's out there doing some weird things that I think will keep some people away from the theaters seeing this.
You're a Krasinski man. I get it. So am I. Cast John as Reed Richards and put Jenna Fisher in as Sue Storm, and I'm a happy jam kind of man all over again.
I'm going to directly oppose X-Wing. In fact, I'll lay a wager down.
Hey guys, let's get out of here. No. It's
you know I'm broke, right?
I think that Marvel has trained the audience now with their string of bad movies to just wait for it to come on Disney Plus. My prediction is that if it didn't get the positive word of mouth that it needed this last weekend, it's going to fall on its face this weekend, and I don't think it's going to recover from that.
I would say the thing that I hope for now, obviously, I can't. You guys are the numbers guys. I can't speak intelligibly on that. But what I would say is, if there's a movie out there that puts family values, nuclear family values, over the crap that they've been peddling these days, I will fight for it on the internet, whatever I got to. And I understand that the bar is low enough that I'm celebrating what could be considered as mediocrity here. There's no, I'm not that completely disillusioned to say that this is a perfect movie, but I don't need my superhero movies to be Shakespeare. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of where I'm at. I'm willing to stick my neck out there and say, like, people should go see this movie, not because it's an incredible movie, but it puts the values forth that I've wanted Marvel to put the values forward on for a very long time. So that's what I'm hoping. But I'm interested to hear the bet. What's the bet? Is it getting tarred and feathered and sprayed down with manitizer? Because I don't know if I want to do that.
You said you're broke. I'm usually a guy who goes for money, but I don't
okay.
know. I'll
bet you $1.
All right, you're on.
It's $1.
Yep, we'll do it.
All right, and while we've been gone, it looks like more spaceships have happened. Ron,
I love
spaceship, man.
I love the fact that Fake Wizard is now the Chancellor.
I am the Senate.
Oh, golly.
All right. Well, folks, that's where we'll leave it. Disney fudging the numbers a wee bit, and could be way more than a wee bit after those Sunday tallies get added up. We'll see. We'll let you know. And we will for sure track the shows of Superman and Fantastic Four, see where they land. Big time pressure right now on the Fantastic Four.